Welcome to Medical Intuition Illuminated, the podcast bringing light to the wisdom of the body. I'm your host, Laura Wise, a medical intuitive and psychic medium dedicated to helping you understand the subtle and layered ways your body communicates. Here, we explore the meeting point of intuition, physiology, and energy, approaching the body not as a puzzle to fix, but as a wise, expressive system that's always speaking. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not medical advice, and it does not replace professional healthcare, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for any medical concerns. This episode contains a real medical intuition session. All participants are anonymous, and any identifying details have been edited out to protect privacy. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get started, I just want to go ahead and do my disclaimer and state that I am not a licensed medical practitioner. And so while we'll be looking at the body and the different areas of the body, I'm not going to diagnose. I won't be saying that I can cure anything. I'm not going to be talking about any named conditions unless it's something that you bring up and you want to look at the energy of together. What we will be doing is going through the different organ systems and kind of unpacking the energetics of the different areas and what's going on in the tissues. Along those lines, I also may offer recommendations around, foods, practices, practitioners to see, supplements, things like that. And I do that all with the caveat that you check in with your own personal care team before making any changes to your routine. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, great. And do I have your permission to read you and your body and energy today?
You do. Yes,
Beautiful.
please.
All right, thanks. So let me go ahead and start reaching out my energy to you. And we're going to start at the top of the head, where I usually get information around kind of how you think and process information and your intuition. And even before I got into your energy, I just like you really like you're in life is the way that it comes across, is like you have such brightness and such just like vibrancy around it that you are here to really experience, being alive, being embodied, but also just like joy. There's a lot of joy that surrounds you. And that's such a beautiful thing. And not to say that, joy is the only thing you experience because you're a person in a body, but it really feels like the way they're showing it to me is like you seek joy out, like you're looking constantly for ways that you can incorporate that into your daily experience, if this makes sense.
Absolutely.
And you're really good at inspiring people. Like just your presence in a room subtly shifts the energy so that people are doing this too. They're very it's very inspirational for people to just be around you. And the way they're showing your intuitive kind of capabilities is like you live in kind of what I would call like the soup. Like you're always in it. You're always feeling it. It's always around you. It's been that way since you were a little kid, even like just constantly. And I think it's almost like at some point you realize like that wasn't the way that everybody experienced life, and that was like it just was so natural to you. You're like, oh wait, like you don't all see the magic around everything. And I feel like that might have even kind of spurred a little bit of a lot of like introspection and kind of like its own period of hardship, just an understanding that that's not how the world actually is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But they're also showing me that especially more recently so you're in the soup all the time, but you also will get these like massive downloads of information, and it's like it shows me it's like a column of energy where you're just like on. And that it started they're saying particularly in the last like 10 to 15 years that's been increasing. And that at first it was really, really overwhelming. But now you have a lot of tools around when you're consenting to that and when you're not, right? Or when it's like overwhelming you, or when it's not, more than anything, because it just comes sometimes.
Yeah.
but it's very powerful, and they're showing very strong in the visual side of things. Like you will really see, when what's happening around it, and there's sense feeling in your body too. You see it and you feel in your body, and you get like full pictures as well. And I am getting artist energy from you as well. So I don't know if you are an artist or if you do art things. Oh, that's interesting.
No, but I've been wanting to expand in my creativity. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that feels like a natural progression for you. I think it's like, yeah, they're just showing that you can like take a concept and like apply it very easily. Okay, so let's feel into the headspace. So I am seeing a little bit of swelling in that lymph system, and a little bit with the lymph nodes right under the throat, um, and a little bit of tightness through there. If that makes sense.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel quite seasonal. This feels like more something that is on a regular basis for you. They are also bringing up like seasonal allergies. Do you get seasonal allergies? Yeah.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Pretty intensely, from what I've seen. And it's part of this is that you're sensitive in general, like to everything.
Yeah.
But it's just also the way that your tissues kind of respond to that pollen, gets really, and it's like, it's not quite starting yet, but it's like the pre-season, shall we say. Um, and they're also showing the eustachian tubes as well being a little
Hmm.
bit inflamed through that. Um, and we'll see if that's well, as far as like when we get to digestion, as far as the pattern of dryness versus heat versus everything. I do see that your throat chakra is just really on right now. And so you've been speaking a lot of truth to people. A lot of that's coming through. And it's very strong. Although there is sometimes you're just like, there's still this worry that of like, did I say too much? Right? Because you have so much to say, and people aren't always ready to hear all of the things, right? And so
Yeah.
what I feel like is you're opting for just saying it and like letting them sort it out later, but there's still that concern that you have of being fully, you know, honest and straightforward with what it is that you're seeing
Yeah.
and experiencing. And I do see tightness down the back of the neck,
Mhm.
and in these kind of the back of the head as well, um, and tension down into the shoulders. And they're really putting this as like tension around just the state of the world. A lot of it is, it's like you see, like we talked about, you see joy so naturally, and there's been a lot of the opposite that's been happening
Mhm.
recently, and it and
Yeah.
it the dissonance has really been weighing on you heavily. And you're seeing, and the way they're putting it almost is like you're seeing the way that it's impacting other people, and that gives you a lot of grief more than necessarily it directly causing you grief. Does this make
Mhm.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of like letting people have their experience of the world, is challenging sometimes.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're showing a lot of tightness, and that is kind of contributing to some of the lymph stagnation that we were seeing initially. And it's almost like uh, around like kind of swallowing sometimes is a little bit sore as well,
Hmm.
um, and tightness. Um, And some of that is, a childhood pattern, right? Around having to hold your tongue. It feels like you more had to hold your tongue in the past. Like you've learned to really open things up.
Yeah.
But it's like the way they're showing it to me is like as a child, you had such a rich inner world that was going on. And to kind of like try to communicate that inner world outward was such a struggle that it felt, yeah, it was just why bother, or like I don't know how to even get this out, right?
Yeah.
Um and so, and kind of what you were taught was very different than what you experienced internally. And so that
Yeah.
dissonance, you're like, why, how do I even communicate that I know that you're wrong in this deep way, right? Um and so there's some of that pattern that's lingering. That's not something that we need to work on. That's something that you do plenty of work around on yourself, but it's just acknowledging that shift that you've had to go through. Okay, so they're pulling me into the chest space, into the lungs in particular. So I do see a grief pattern in the lungs.
Hmm.
They're showing me both kind of like older grief and newer grief as well. So I'm seeing a heaviness, kind of old grief pattern in the bottom of the lungs, and then more towards the top, there's kind of some newer, fresher grief. Um, and they're saying we're in particular, we're going to work on the older grief in the lungs. Um, they're talking about the newer grief that you have more tools with how you're thinking about these things at this point, and so you
Yeah.
have a different relationship with that grief than this one that was kind of older, if that makes sense to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and they feel very separate. They feel like different about different things, different people about
Hmm.
different circumstances, so they're not really like pinging each other in that way. But um the one on the top, the fresher grief, really feels like it has a certain beauty around it, right? Grief is always very hard, but it's like there's a certain amount of like inspiration and understanding about life that it's giving you,
Yeah.
yeah.
That totally resonates. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at heart space. So we have a very complex heart. And so it's again this feeling of like sometimes your rich inner world, it doesn't match what the outer world is experiencing, right? And
Mhm.
this kind of this dissonance between what you see as possible for people and the world and everything versus where we are at as
Mhm.
a culture and a community, right? And that the word that's coming up around it was almost like heartbreak in a certain
Yeah.
sense of that disconnection from those two ways that things are. Um, and it's not connected to the grief. Let me feel into that a little bit more. Because on the left side of the heart, I see so much richness and vibrancy. On the left side, that's right connected to our version of ourself. And you've done so much amazing healing work around yourself. You've done so much, you've learned so much self love, self appreciation. Um, but it's that right side where it's like being able to see the love that you have for yourself kind of reflected in the outside world and see that come back to you in the same way feels like there's heartbreak around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because you give so much love, you give so much, you overgive. They're saying that
Yeah.
you tend
Yeah. I do.
to undervalue what it is that you're offering to people, and it's
Yeah.
like you can't even stop it coming out of your body.
No, working on it, but yeah, definitely a work in progress there.
Yeah. And so they are saying that with that right side of the heart, there's been times when you've been taken advantage of pretty
Hmm.
deeply. And
Uh-huh.
there's a part of you that's you're like, well, that's just like I'm still going to be me and give what I give because that's who I am. But it still hurts that it wasn't recognized, that it wasn't, and it was almost like that giving that you got was taken and twisted in some way
Yeah.
and wasn't seen as for what it was, right?
Yeah.
And they are pointing to this as something that we're going to work on as well.
Okay.
I went on the heart space. So we've got heart and lungs, and we'll unpack those together on the right side. So let me make a note of that. So let's move down into. So I am seeing it's almost like a coldness pattern in your arms. So I do feel like your hands tend to run cold
Hmm.
and your arms tend to kind of get cold as well. I'm almost
Yeah.
sensing a little bit of nerve stuff as well down the arms, that you kind of get almost some numbness within the hands sometimes when
Yeah.
they're overworked or it's too cold or there's not enough like kind of blood flow. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it comes and goes, definitely, but it feels like it's been more present recently, especially with some of the colder weather that's been happening.
Hmm.
Um, Let me feel into that. And that feels almost like it's a nervous system pattern across the body in some ways. You'll get
I
these.
think, yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, and it feels like there's more information there that we'll get to at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And I'm also sensing a dryness pattern, and those are a little bit connected in that a dryness pattern makes it harder for like the nervous system to function fully, and that like when there's it can interrupt the electrical signals throughout the body, and so it just exacerbates something that is already present. So they're separate in a way, but they're impacting each other.
Yeah.
um yeah, and I do sense that the like blood, if anything, I would say like blood pressure tends to be on the lower side. Like blood just
Hmm.
getting around your body in general is a bit of a challenge,
Yeah.
and tends to be more on the slow and sluggish side. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we're gonna look at adrenals. Adrenals are pretty good. I would say there's a little bit of a puffy energy to them. They're a little bit tired.
Hmm.
I feel like you haven't been sleeping that great recently.
No,
And
no, I
there's a lot of
haven't.
like waking up in the middle of the night and like contemplating these things and feeling the collective energy of
Yeah.
chaos.
Hmm.
And because they're telling me that you understand your adrenals get activated very easily, and so you know this
Yeah.
about yourself, and so you create a
Yeah.
lot of protections around your nervous system to keep it balanced, but you haven't been able to maintain those practices recently as much. um and
Yeah.
so your nervous system is just like it's kind of like on the edge of being activated. I'll start with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Kidneys are also dry. So,
Okay.
and I do say this a lot, but adding just a little bit of sea salt, natural sea salt to your
Hmm.
water can help kind of maintain hydration within the body. Chia seeds are good as well. But you want to be careful with things because you do run cold. So things like coconut water is going to be too cold for you. Aloe vera is going to be too cold for you. So you want to focus on warming hydration. Um, and they want to pull me into stomach to talk a little bit more about that because we're gonna look at because your stomach goes cold so fast. It
Hmm.
just shuts down, and then your digestive system shuts down as well.
Yeah.
Um, and they're pointing to so stomach covers the emotion of anxiety or worry, and so they're almost showing this as kind of you're just you do have a pattern of chronic worrying that will come along with this digestive system. Um, and it's almost like I got to worry about all the other things because there's people in your life that don't worry about things or
They
something.
just have no,
So,
like, it doesn't even cross their mind. Like, it's not even that they don't
so
worry. It doesn't even occur to them.
yeah. And so it's almost like on their behalf, you're like doing extra worrying
Yeah,
because they're not doing enough. Yeah. Um,
exactly.
and you really do keep there's like a particular person. There's someone you really do keep in line, and you're like they're
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're saying like you're like their guardian angel, and that you're like constantly
Oh,
like you're about to step in a big hole, like let's move you to the side. And that's exhausting because they're saying like there's not
it
really
is.
anything to be done about it because it just is the way it is, right? And now there's like that dynamic where they're like, well, I don't have to worry because you're doing it
Yeah,
for
she'll do it all. Yeah.
me. Yeah, and overall, it's kind of your body has learned to kind of like function around this worry that you do, but it does sometimes impact your digestion in that it can stop you from feeling, hunger or that things kind of take a long time to move through your digestive system.
Hmm.
The digestion also runs dry as well, like the rest of your body. And so sometimes there is, not as much juiciness in there. And so we'll definitely recommend things like warm, wet, brothy things, soups, stews. And I also would say some sweet flavors, some like, kind of fruits and things as well to kind of keep that digestive fire going, warming spices around cinnamon, um, kind of cardamom is also really good. It's kind of a neutral spice, but it can have warming impacts if you run cold. Ginger, um, but I almost feel like it's like just even getting hungry sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like waking that up in the morning. Do you do coffee? I talk about
I do
coffee.
not do coffee.
Okay,
No.
I was feeling that I was like more of a tea person too.
Oh, I like buckets of black tea. Yeah.
Beautiful. And that's great. Yeah, it feels like it works really well for you. I would say green tea runs cold. So if you ever do green tea, be careful about when you're taking it because that
Okay.
can throw your system off. But yeah, I'm seeing even like a ginger tea or something in the morning as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would be really great. Um, okay, and they're actually bringing up nettles, in particular nettles tea. if you've ever had that, and it's especially great in the springtime. But it's also really great for nervous system. It's great for like it has a lot of iron rich nutrients in it. And it also is good for kind of warming things up and fortifying. So let me take a look at, because I wanted to look at the pancreas since we're talking about the juiciness. Yeah, pancreas has a little bit of stuck energy around it as well. And this is not something that we're going to work on. It just feels like it kind of it goes between working really hard and then kind of being really tired and working really hard and working tired. So it's also very dry in your pancreas. Um, you look at liver. Um, so liver feels very complex to me. So it's and liver does a lot of things in the body. It's a
Hmm.
very complicated organ. And it also governs the emotion of anger. And
Hmm.
so the way they're bringing it up with the anger is that you spend a lot of time trying not to feel angry. And anger is a very uncomfortable emotion for you. You're like, well, it doesn't really have place in this like joy picture that I have about the world, and it feels very inconvenient to feel it. And so I don't really want to bother.
Yeah.
And so because it's not something that you're feeling that often, when it's like comes to other people's anger, it can be very surprising to you. You're just like, whoa, that's a lot of, you feel very strongly about that. Um, that's kind of intense, right? And so sometimes it kind of puts you off with having knowing how to handle it because you're just like, this isn't my experience.
Yeah.
Um, they're not saying this is anything that we need to work on. This is like you've got a lot of tools for it, and you're a very good listener, right? So people definitely feel heard um, from you when you're witnessing their anger and everything. It's just it's like it feels like a foreign emotion to you in a lot of ways. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah. Because
just
I'm
not
like,
the
well,
lens.
why would I get angry about that when I can look
Mhm.
past it and see what's actually going on, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's not, is it going
Right.
to serve me to be angry? No.
Mhm. And so there's almost like a transmutation thing that happens with your own, like with the anger comes in, and then you very quickly, like you get to understanding very quickly, right? You're like, oh, I
Hmm.
get what this is about. I understand like where this came from and everything. And it's almost like you rush through that process of like cataloging it and putting it away. And sometimes your liver and your body would like you to just sit with the feeling itself for a little bit longer.
Okay.
Because sometimes
Okay.
it's like you're just like, let's move on, right? And it's trying to give you more information sometimes than you're allowing it to have. So this is
Okay.
kind of the medicine to kind of sit with at this time is just be like when you're feeling those anger feelings come up and just, giving it a little bit more of a voice um, before logicking it or putting it
Ooh.
into the right
Yeah.
box. Yeah, if this makes sense.
Oh,
Um,
that makes perfect sense.
yeah. Um, okay, so that's all they want to say there. Let's look at digestion. Yeah, so digestion tends to be slow. It's almost like it's slow in the top part, and at the end, it's just like, let's get it out because it's been in there for so long, right?
Mhm.
And so sometimes I'm not seeing any malabsorption, which is good. I do feel like it does just sit there and there's like gas that will happen and bloating, and that doesn't really help with like feeling the hungry parts of
Mhm.
it. I do see the ileocecal valve is a little bit inflamed. It's not too bad, but that does pair often with seasonal allergies, with processing things as well. And I do sense there's a little bit of dryness throughout the whole digestive pattern, and that there's just a lot of times those they're just not as coated as well in kind of the juicy, mucousy membranes as they would like to be. Um, And it's interesting because a lot of times when I see a slow digestion, it's like people tend to be a little bit slow with processing emotions and things. But you're a fast processor. That's not the thing. It's like you understand things very quickly, but it's almost like
Mhm.
sometimes you spend a lot of time like thinking about what to do about it. It's like the action part of it, or like how
Yeah.
to bring it back out of your body, or like knowing how to move forward is the part that it takes a while for you, and that's
Yeah.
just how you function. Um, and it's great because it makes you that so you're very careful and diplomatic with things, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's almost like the moment passes before you're able to have the response that you want to be able to have to something.
Yeah.
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 And that's like almost like they're showing me that's the rushing at the end of the digestive tract is like then you're like, oh,
Okay.
I gotta, and then you kind of
I
almost
gotta do
feel,
it. Yeah.
yeah, you, and then you like you feel rushed into a decision that maybe you wouldn't have made if you had
Yeah.
thought about it a little bit differently. Um, I do see some tension and kind of crackly joints through the hip area. I am seeing like on both sides that you do get some pain through there. And that's partly dryness and those there's not a lot of the cartilage is really broken down in those areas. And that's partly from the kind of the dryness pattern that you already have. Um, they are showing me you're very flexible and as
Hmm.
well. So I don't know if you did some practices around flexibility throughout your life, but yeah, just seeing like overall your body tends towards flexibility. Um, yeah, and that they're showing the pain goes kind of down the outsides of the legs to your knees as well from those
Hmm.
joints all the way down to your feet. Um, and walking is sometimes a little bit challenging. It's like they're showing like really in the morning, like waking
Yeah.
up those joints is really hard. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Um, yeah, and I'm seeing your feet get real cold, even colder than your hands. Your feet get really, really
Yeah.
cold. And yeah, they're specifically showing me like getting like a heating pad out and putting them on your feet because it's like
Okay.
there's again with the kind of nervous system thing that we're talking about, making sure to warming things up. Yeah, they're telling me to look a little bit more deeply specifically in the nervous system because we've been talking about that overall because we were
Hmm.
mentioning the kind of zingers that you're getting down the nerves and the numbness. And you do get some numbness in your feet as well. A little bit, not as much.
I haven't really noticed, but that doesn't mean
Okay.
it's not happening. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. I think in general we tend to forget about our feet
Hmm.
often.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely in the hands and the arms. And down the back, they're showing me some zingers as well with the nervous system.
Hmm.
So yeah, they're talking a little bit about the myelination on the nerves that happen. So all these nerves that they have kind of this like outer fatty coating that helps electrical signals run across the
Okay.
body. And they're saying that's been worn down a little bit. And they're talking about increasing the healthy fats within your diet to help kind of
Okay.
coat these sheaths. So I don't know, do you do animal proteins?
Yep.
Okay. Um, let's feel into which ones are good. Beef's good. Chicken's good. They're all good for you. I'm not sensing
Okay.
any that are really giving you too much of an issue with that. But they're particularly talking about raw oils, and having like adding raw oil to your food after it's been cooked. So even if you're
Okay.
like, sometimes I'll like dry roast things and then I'll add the oil after
Okay.
because it when it's cooked into things it becomes carcinogenic and it breaks down some of the kind of lubricating properties of those oils. So they're almost
Okay.
saying like adding in, and olive oil is a great oil for you. Sesame is a warming oil. I know people have feelings about seed oils, but that one's a warming. I would avoid coconut oil for you. um
Yeah, it seems to be very drying for me.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, because it's cold on the
Oh, okay.
tissues.
Oh, okay.
And then um sunflower maybe sunflower might be okay for you. But again, people have feelings about seed oils. Um but
People
I
have
just
feelings
they're
about all kinds of things.
yeah, and they're talking about things like animal fats too, like lard, ghee, things like that
Okay.
as well, and increasing that intake. Um because they're saying it's yeah, because there's just this kind of chronic um, dryness without things being kind of properly lubricated.
Okay.
Um, in a way, they're bringing up that you have a very busy mind, like you think a lot of thoughts, and it's almost like they're showing you like going about your day, and you're almost like humming, like think, 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 hum, 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 and that sometimes it's like you're you're like in your thoughts rather than in your body. about
Yeah.
things. And so sometimes your nervous system gets confused or something because it's
Yeah.
not connected to your thoughts, right? There's like this
Okay. Yeah.
separation that's happening. Um, and so do you do any grounding practices?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just making sure you're doing that. Make sure if there's anything else around kind of getting back into your body. Um, do you ever sing? This is the second time it came up.
Mm-mm.
No, okay. Yeah, they're really pointing as just like singing as a way to again kind of feel the resonance into your body
Okay.
and kind of being embodied in that way. Um, okay. They're telling me to pause and just check in with you and see if you have any specific questions or you want to kind of unpack something in particular.
I'm curious about my kidneys.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take a look there. So I was feeling like they were dry.
Mhm.
That's interesting. It feels like one of them is working a little harder than the other one. So I'm seeing
Mhm.
like the left side feels much more active than the right side, and
Oh,
the right
interesting.
side
Okay.
feels a little bit more sleepy. What, yeah, what is your, um,
Oh, I'm thinking back to what you said about my heart as well, with the left side
mhm.
and the right side. So
That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like because you've done a lot of self work, right, around those things.
Hmm.
Kidneys govern the emotion of fear.
Hmm.
And
They do.
so, and so, that's telling me that yeah, that like internal fear about yourself, you've worked a lot on that, right? And that
Yeah.
one's working hard and you've
Work
really
in
unpacked
progress.
yeah, your own. But it's
Yeah.
like this external and they're bringing up the word control and like there's a lot of things that feel out of control within
Hmm.
your life and they're saying this is like globally, but it's also like right now interpersonally, there's a lot of things that are
Hmm.
dynamics that you are in charge of, but you don't have much say around, is kind
Yeah.
of the way they're putting it. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
yeah, that yeah, you're like responsible for, but like there's not a lot of actions that you can particularly like make around it. You're kind of
Yeah.
on a particular train. Um, and so that's kind of what it's like. It's like pinging the fear and the external part of expression, but there's nothing to do about it because so it kind of gets into this stuck pattern of tired because it can't
Hmm.
do anything. Um, yeah, the dryness is definitely very present. What I say to do about it, and it is impacting kind of particularly like urine function and how
Hmm.
those things are moving through your body and absorption of kind of micro minerals as well. And that's another great thing that the adding the sea salt to your water does is it adds all these kind of micro minerals into
Hmm.
your system as well. They saying anything to do. There's not something that we're going to do any healing around. Um, they're talking about kind of recognizing that dynamic of the things that you're in charge of that you don't have control over and
Hmm.
allowing your body to release responsibility for some of the things because you
Okay.
still feel like you're supposed to do something
Yeah.
around it and you're
Yeah.
and so it's almost just like a it just
Mhm.
spins on the fear cycle, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing you're doing is like having fear around it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because I
because that's
can't do
all you
anything
can
else,
do.
right? Yeah.
And there's something about like telling your body and yourself like I have done enough. I have done everything that I can and there are no other actions to be taken and this is
Okay.
just how it goes. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's extremely helpful.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions before we move into the healing portion?
Um, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, all the nervous system stuff was super, super interesting, because I have been focusing on that lately. And it's funny that you're talking to me about grounding and adding sea salt to my water. Like that's literally what I teach on. Like
Oh,
that's literally what I tell and it's like other people to do. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, maybe I'm telling so many people to do that because I need to listen to it myself.
yes. Say I feel that, right? Because I
Yeah.
also run dry and
Yeah, yeah, there's that
This
mirror. Okay, oh, that's for
result,
me.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm like, wait, I haven't been doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And the, I mean, the kidney information was super, super helpful and super interesting,
Mm,
because I've um, been dealing with an issue there, but it's like there's not an organ problem, but if I don't deal with it, there will be an organ problem, right?
mm,
So it's I don't want to have an organ
yeah.
problem.
Mhm. Yeah. And and hydration is tricky, right? It's so like seasonal. It's so like uh, dependent on what you're eating, and it can be,
Hmm.
especially if you already have a delicate system around it.
Yeah,
I feel like it's one of those things that's easy to get out of balance and hard to get kind of back into
yeah.
um, a good balance. Beautiful. All right, so we'll go ahead and transition into the healing portion. Following the assessment, we end the session with a healing where we unpack the root causes of the stagnant energies that were surfaced during the walkthrough of the body and systems. The information quickly gets very personal and detailed, so in order to maintain the privacy and anonymity of my participants, I don't share these sections on the podcast. They're also not ideal for an audio format as they often include long stretches of silence while we work with visualizations, meditations, and other kinds of energy work. Thanks for listening to Medical Intuition Illuminated. If this episode resonated, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit. Special thanks to Derek Ryan for music. Until next time, listen deeply to the wisdom of your body.
So